Hello and welcome to Not One Right Way, the podcast. It's me, one of your co-hosts, Melissa Manuel, she, her, and
it's me, the other co-host, Marve Akinyaga, they, them, theirs.
How you doing, Marv?
You know, I'm so alive and present in my body right now. And I do mean that in a good way. I had a pleasant meal. I'm feeling satiated. A nice, cool ice water with me right now.
Nice. Love that for you.
Thank you. How are you?
I had a kind of a hard day. I don't feel present in my body. I feel like I left my body behind on the LA Metro.
Yeah.
I can't find it. It was a rough day. Just, I had felt like I'd been doing a good job at work. And then all of a sudden, the imposter syndrome cut back up, and I was like, I'm not doing a good job. Everything's bad. I'm sure I'm doing fine. It's just like I'm doomsdaying myself because I don't confidence. It's hard. It's hard. But it's going to be okay. And all my artists are talented, wonderful people, and they're doing a great job. And I just need to believe in myself. So that's what I'm doing.
What we're going to do right now is I'm going to say a statement, and then you're just going to say yes. We'll do that 3 times. Okay?
Okay.
You are incredibly talented and capable at your job.
Yes.
You are a fantastic person. You are lovable and kind, and people appreciate that about you.
Yes.
You deserve the best things in life, including to feel confidence about yourself.
Yes.
Lovely. Lovely.
That was a really kind exercise. And thank you for doing that with me. Because it was really hard to say yes to those things. Because I don't, but thank you for doing that with me. I needed to hear those things, and I needed to say yes to them. Because it was a hard day, but thank you. I really appreciate that. That's why you're an amazing social worker.
Thank you. That is how I make money. It's true. Okay. Have you watched anything interesting lately?
I was just watching Animal Control, one of the sitcoms on Fox. I want to say Fox, but I watch it on Hulu. I do love, me, my sitcoms. I like that one. It's got like 2 slow burn romances plots, which is interesting. Because usually a sitcom's got like that one Pam and Jim couple that they run with. This one's got 2. And so I'm very entertained.
Lovely. Lovely. I think I watched 1 episode with you. It's very wacky and I love it.
Good ensemble cast. It's got Joel McHale playing the same character, but he's always good at that character. So
an unlovable asshole.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you? What are you watching?
Nothing new right now. I just finished watching for like bajillionth time That Thing You Do, written and directed by Tom Hanks. One of my favorite movies.
Nice. I should watch that. I've never seen it.
I know. I keep telling you, like, you should watch it. It's like one of my favorites.
We should watch it together.
Yeah. It'll be super annoying though, because I'll be singing all the songs and then you'll have to live with that.
That's okay. I like to sing. I'm okay with that.
Cool.
Well, we have an amazing guest today, and I'm so excited to introduce them. His name is David Olson. He works at Epic Games. His title is Partner Operations Release Manager. I don't know what that means, and I'm sure some of our listeners don't, but we're going to get into it. Welcome, David.
Thank you. Thank you. Also, I do now have that song from That Thing We Do stuck in my head. So, yeah.
Which song?
The main, the
That
main
Thing You Do.
That Thing You Do. Yeah. So, no. So as to what I do, it's unique in the industry, but essentially I am a combination between a producer, a release manager, a facilitator, a number of things. Essentially, I spend my days helping developers and publishers get their games onto the Epic Games Store. So unlike other stores, we have people who touch everything. Every single game, everything that goes out is reviewed by an actual person. And I'm one of the people that helps facilitate that and makes that happen. So
that's awesome. Well, before we get into that, Marv, why don't you start us off?
Yes. In light of me just watching That Thing You Do, I was really going to ask, like, what's a line from a movie or TV show that has just stuck with you?
Oh, that's a good question. There are many. Are we strictly sticking to film and television, or
whatever comes to mind? I'm happy to listen to. Love to hear it.
So one of my favorite sayings, and this is actually something that he talks about a lot, is from Adam Savage of Mythbusters. And it's, I reject your reality and substitute my own. Something about that just has always resonated with me ever since I first heard it many years ago. But my favorite quote, and I don't think it's ever been used in film or TV, is everything in moderation, including moderation. It's
Mm,
something I
mm,
live by. It's something I try to, you know, instill in others. Like, do everything in moderation, but remember that even moderation needs to be moderated at times. So, and that's attributed to Oscar Wilde, but it may actually be a saying that was older than him. Nobody knows for sure.
I
interesting.
like that. I'm gonna start saying that to people at work.
I say it to people at work.
Yeah,
I say it to people outside of work. Yeah, all of the time.
yeah.
Gonna, like, put that in my signature in my email. So, like, I'm not adding you, but, like, I'm adding you, you know? Subtweeting in my emails.
It's one of those things. Like, if
Hilarious.
you resonate with this, maybe you need to think about it.
Yeah,
Maybe, maybe. Yeah.
that's a good one. I'm trying to think of a quote that's resonated with me. There's so many,
Mhm,
but I have a terrible memory, and I'd, like, hear it, and I'd be like, "Yeah, that one." Hope is the thing with feathers, but I think it's, like,
mm,
a repetition thing because I listen to so much of John Green's stuff, and he quotes it from Emily Dickinson, but I do like it. It is a very difficult thing, like, I feel hopeful, and then I don't, so I do like that one a lot.
mm.
Plus, the Green Brothers are just good people.
It's true. Don't forget to be awesome.
Yeah.
Marv, do you have a quote?
Oh, yes. So there's this part in That Thing You Do where Mr. White, the band manager, says, I need something peppy, something snappy, none of this lover's lament crap. And then the band, like, lead singer, it's like, okay, I'll give you something right now. And he says, I'll quit. I quit. I quit. And I just think about that all the time whenever I'm feeling like I'm gonna be super upbeat, happy, but also I quit. Like if it if it sucks, hit the bricks. Like sometimes you just gotta be like, I'm super happy that I'm not gonna be doing this anymore. I'm leaving, you know?
Yeah.
I can't even express how much I resonate with that. Having, as we kind of talked about before we started, I've had a lot of jobs over the years, and a lot of them ended in that kind of way of, you know what, I'm in a good place, and I don't need to be here.
It's a powerful thing to be able to know when to leave
Yeah, sure.
and to be able to do it. It's very brave.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, speaking of your previous jobs, why don't you begin to share with us and listeners what was your first dream job?
So, funny enough, I've always wanted to work in video games ever since
Mm,
I was young.
nice.
I never knew what form I wanted to work in games. I just knew I wanted to be involved with making games or getting games out in the world. So I explored a bunch of different possibilities. I studied game design for a while. I studied audio production for a while. Well, I've kind of been an unofficial writer who doesn't actually write since I was young. So, I looked at narrative design and, narrative stuff and realized that while I enjoy all those things, like none of those things are really what fit right for me. But yeah, no, I always knew I wanted to work in games. But as I've mentioned, I've had a lot of jobs over the years, from being a barista to pumping gas in one of the few places where you can't pump your own gas, um, to waiting tables, to doing general labor on a construction site, to being a security officer, to a bouncer, to working on film sets in Portland, where I grew up. I've done call center work and tech, support work, and you name it, I've probably done it at least at one point. I mean, the only place I have not done anything is fast food. The closest I got was I worked at a pizza place for a little bit of time, but I never ended up working in the fast food industry. And honestly, knowing myself as I do now, I'm not sure I would have been able to do it for long.
Mhm.
So, like, the people
Valid.
who can do it and really can do it for a long period of time, like, they deserve a freaking medal because, like, having worked in many service jobs, retail and other stuff like that, fast food is one of the ones where it's just like, I don't understand how people can treat other people like that. And, you know, yeah, it's So I'm always polite to fast food workers whenever I interact with them. Food service workers are just service workers in general, but fast food more specifically because
Definitely.
it's such a thankless job, I think, or industry to be in. So uh,
Yeah.
plus, honestly, some of the happiest people I've ever known worked in that industry. So
Can I ask what it's like to be somebody who pumps gas? Like, what is that
so
like?
growing up
That's
in
a great
Oregon,
question.
you can't pump your own gas. It has to be done
Right.
by somebody else. So back in way back in the day, there was car hops and stuff like that, or and they would come out and they'd wash your windshield and they'd pump your gas and they'd check your tire pressure and they'd do all of these things.
Wow.
And the gas station I worked at, we try to bring some of that back. So like, I'd offer to wash the windows, I offer to check tire pressure if it looked a little low, and then like, oh, you want to get snacks or a drink from the store? Sure, let me run inside while your gas is pumping and help bring you up. Because the place I worked at, there was usually only one of us on staff at a time. There should have been
Whoa.
more, but there's usually only one of us, which was not fantastic. But yeah, no, it was an interesting job because it was something that didn't pay great. The hours weren't great. Being out in the Pacific Northwest, weather
Yeah.
was not great. But I met a lot of interesting people. And that was one of the things I really enjoyed about it was I got to meet and, like most of the time when you're up in in Oregon or I think New Jersey are the only two places that you could still or that you still can't pump your own gas. I just started talking to people and just, you know, like, how's your day? Tell me something about yourself, just things to pass the time while I'm standing outside of their car, just waiting for their gas to fill up, stuff like that. And I met some really interesting people, heard some really interesting stories. I think the only place that I've met more interesting people was when I worked graveyard at a 7-Eleven. Graveyard
Oh,
shift at a 7-Eleven in
Wow.
Portland
That's
was
a
a very interesting experience.
it's a fun time to be working. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, because you
for
meet all
night
kinds of
owls.
interesting people. Yeah. So, but pumping gas was, I to this day I still like am very sensitive to the smell of gasoline. Uh,
mm-mm.
because I'm got so used to it that like the smallest amount, I'm like, I know that smell. There's gasoline around here somewhere. You know. Uh that and Indian food. Specifically Indian food. I waited tables in an Indian restaurant for like 4 years and I loved it. I loved the family. The restaurant doesn't exist anymore, sadly,
Oh,
but I still have clothes that smell like curry. And that was
The
years
power.
and years ago.
power. True.
But
The power of the curry.
yeah, but the thing about it is like every time I catch a whiff of it, it just brings back so many good memories.
Oh,
So I had such a great time working there, helping out. It's a little family owned place where the owner was up front. His wife and his mother and his father worked in the kitchen. His sons would be there helping out, as they got older. And then they usually had 1 to 2 like waiters. And yeah, it was such a great experience getting to know them and just being you know, almost a part of the family. So it was great. In fact, I was just recently thinking about making a trip down to Texas where they now live to visit them because I have not seen them in quite some time. So I was like, I think I need to go do that.
that'd
Get
be so
away
sweet.
and go visit some people that they just accepted me from the beginning and I loved it. I mean, I joke, but it was the truth. I got the job there just so I could afford to eat there because my dad owned a coffee shop directly across the parking lot from the restaurant. And that was my first experience with Indian food. And I got hooked. And so I needed money. And I was like, well, I'll just start helping out here. So I started helping out in the evenings, waiting tables. And then, I would go work at my dad's coffee shop for, few hours in the morning, go over, work the lunch buffet and the lunch rush. And they close for 3 hours, go back across the parking lot to dad's coffee shop, spend some more time working there, go back across the
Wow.
parking lot for dinner, and then go home.
That's a
So
hustle.
they were long days, but they were
Uh,
great days. I also drank a lot of coffee.
yeah.
Did you build a tolerance? Like, did you have a spice tolerance when you started working at the restaurant? And then, like, by the time you're 4 years, you're like, "Yeah, I can eat the spiciest curry."
Actually, no. My tolerance actually went down, surprisingly enough, to the point that, like, I can't even eat spicy food. Like, I go get buffalo wings or something, and, like, mild is about the hottest I can do.
That's so
But no,
interesting.
yeah, when I was younger, I could eat stuff much spicier than I could now. I grew up in an area that I had a lot of Vietnamese friends. I mean, a good portion of my high school was Vietnamese. So, and I grew up in an area in Portland where there was a large Vietnamese population. So, like, I got used to eating not super spicy food because Vietnamese food isn't typically known to be very spicy, but I got used to eating some food that definitely had a bit of heat to it. But, as I got older and as time went, I got less tolerant to it, which I still don't understand. But the only
Yeah.
thing that I've gotten or that I can't eat chickpeas anymore. That's the one thing I can't do because I ate so many of them because when the lunch rush was over and the restaurant closed, we would just start whatever was left over on the buffet would be lunch. And so a lot of times there was chickpeas, because that, was a very common staple Indian dish
Mhm.
and in a lot of things. So I ate a lot of chickpeas, and to this day, I can't eat chickpeas anymore in
Wow.
hummus
No
or
more.
anything.
Valid. How long would you stay on average at these many jobs you did? So, like, you spent 4 years at the Indian restaurant. How long were you pumping gas? How long were you you listed so many things, but
I
how long
know
on average were you at these
it
odd
depends.
jobs?
It depends on the job. Like I pumped gas for 6 or 8 months. I worked off and on at my dad's coffee shop for like 4 years as a barista. Yes, the cliche. Grew up in Portland and I was a barista. It's just the way it is. Everybody does it at least once. Um, Security, I did off and on from when I was 18 until I finally stopped doing it when I was in my early 30s. But like, it just depends on the environment and the situation for me. Like, being neurodivergent and not knowing how neurodivergent at the time, I realized that I part of it was burnout and part of it was just like me thinking, well, I don't need this job. Like, sure, I need money, but I can always find another job. I mean, I sold cell phones for a while, and when my boss at the time tried to get me to fight another employee, I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, time to
Yeah,
go.
yeah. No, it was there's a whole story to that was but yeah, no, I was like, I don't need to be here anymore.
Yeah.
Like, was he like, "You 2, parking lot, go."
He, no, he just tried to stir up drama and stuff between us, and yet the person that I wanted to fight was the boss because I worked on two
Yeah.
very like lucrative deals that would have got me some nice commission checks, and he stepped in to finalize them and finish them and screwed them both up. And so I got
Mm.
none of that. So, like, of all the people I wanted to fight at that job, it was him. But no, I'm not a fighter, or well, I was for a little while when I was a bouncer, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
This is a this is such a fun, like, backstory because I think hearing a little bit about what your current job is, it really prepared you. You were perfectly trained to
Oh yeah,
become what you are now because you're
oh yeah,
able to manage you so many things because you've done a lot of different jobs.
yeah. Um, and yeah, I think that's part of why I started applying for roles in the games industry when I finally did. So I actually had a full-on career in IT. I was in IT. I was in IT project management, and realized that I just didn't like working in the IT industry anymore. I didn't like the pay. I didn't like the hours. I didn't like being a contractor. There were a lot of different things. I didn't enjoy it anymore. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna really focus on getting into the games industry. So I started going to school for game design. I won't mention the school. All I will say is that it was way too expensive and was not worth it, in my
Yeah.
opinion. There are people who might have gone through that school and had much better experiences, but for me, no. So, but as I was doing that, I spent a lot of time networking with people in the games industry and attached to it. Twitch streamers, game developers, game producers, a lot of indie folks. I just started spending a lot of time connecting with people. And the piece of advice I give anybody when it comes to networking is don't think about what the person's job is. Think about what kind of connection you could establish with that person. So that's what I did. I got to know people over mutual interests, mutual dislikes, just spent time trying to get to know people. That was the whole point of it. It wasn't to, get to know people so they could do something for me. It was to get to know people that happened to work in an industry that I wanted to be in. My thought when I was doing it was not, oh, well, these people can recommend me for a job. No, it was like, I could find out about when jobs are coming from these people. So I'm not getting anything special from them. All I'm doing is maybe finding out a job is coming a little sooner than somebody else. So maybe I can get my resume in just a little sooner than somebody else. But yeah, my first priority was always just to get to know people, and it worked out. I ended up realizing that the skill set that I had developed over the years was really good for producer roles and release manager roles. So I said, sure, and started applying for those. And conveniently enough, ended up getting a 1-year contract with Epic. 6 months in, I got hired on as a full-time employee, and that April 4th will be 3.5 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So thank you.
That's
It's
very
I,
fun.
I I never expected to end up at a company like Epic, especially, I expected something much, much smaller to start, but I lucked out and ended up in a place that I have no desire to leave anytime soon.
Just a
Good.
small indie studio like
Oh yeah.
Epic, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Only like 4,000 employees globally or something like that.
Yeah.
Praise town.
But yeah, no,
Yes.
it was through the networking that I learned that the skill set that I had definitely could transfer. So I left the school that I was in, started applying for jobs, got this one, and here we are.
The
Nice.
rest is history.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of history, I do want to go back a little bit. And you mentioned that you knew for quite a while that you wanted to work in video games and the sort of gaming industry. What was that impetus, that something that sparked, I want to do that?
For me, it started with the original Legend of Zelda on the NES.
Hmm.
So for a lot of people, when they talk about getting into video games, it's an older sibling or their dad or an uncle or something like that. It was my mom. My mom's the one who got me into playing video games. She she brought home an NES. She brought home the original gold cartridge, Legend of Zelda,
Yeah.
and it was history from there. I mean, mom still plays to this day. She has a Switch. She has a PS5. She doesn't play as much as
Nice.
she used to, but she still plays. My dad plays some, though he usually sits with mom and, they'll take turns. But no, it started when I was young. This would have been late 80s, early 90s, yeah. And it hooked me. I don't know what about that game specifically, but it hooked me. And as I started getting older and learning about the world and stuff, I realized that wait, this is a job. People do this for a living. People make money making video games. I want to do that. I have no idea how. I have no idea doing what, but I want to do that one day. And, I've always been an avid reader. I've always been, big into, science fiction and nerd stuff and video games. And I've always been a creative in some form. I don't know if the creativity came from the love of video games or the love of video games just came along hand in hand with the creativity. I just knew that I wanted to be involved in making stuff that other people enjoy. And for me, video games has always been a form of escapism. Same thing with reading, same thing with movies and TV shows and stuff like that. Getting the opportunity to help others escape is also something that I very much was a big part of my life. I mentioned being a neurodivergent. It's something that, it is who I am, and I wouldn't call it a superpower, but that it is something that has helped me better connect with people, especially other neurodivergent people, is the creativity and the wanting to make things for other people. In the beginning, I wanted to make things that I would enjoy, but I wanted to make things that others would enjoy too. And I realized as I got older that I wanted to give other people the feelings that I got from these things that I love. And so that's where the creativity really kind of took off. And the desire to work in video games really took off, was wanting to give other people similar experiences to what I had growing up.
Yeah, you wanted to share the joy that you got from experiencing video games, and
Yeah.
I think that's a universal. I mean, I hope it's a universal experience for everyone working in the entertainment industry. It's like we love watching movies, we love playing video games, and that's why we make it so that other people can feel the same way we did.
Mhm. Yeah. I think that's part of why I also got so into Dungeons and Dragons, was the creativity and the being able to make stuff and work, with others to make stuff. And yeah, I was just talking to somebody the other day, and I think it's been 28 years that I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Wow,
Dang.
I don't think there's any other game I played.
veteran.
Yeah. I don't think there's any other game I played and put as much time into as that.
So, are
Though
you a
World of
DM?
Warcraft, I am both. I have been a DM for a number of sessions over the years, and, and I have been a player. I enjoy both roles. I don't think I could pick one of the two that I would say I enjoy more than the other. Yeah, I don't think I could pick which one I would say I enjoy more. I love the world building that comes
Yeah,
along with being a DM, but at the same time, I love just learning and seeing what happens from becoming a player. I mean, being a DM, it's the same. I mean, one of the interesting things about my style as a DM is I do very little planning ahead of time. I'll do some like general like ideas of the world and like some storyline ideas, but most of the time I just ad hoc it. I just make it up as I go.
nice.
And the players that I've been lucky enough to run games for, have all really enjoyed it. What's
That's awesome.
funny for me is that most of them had no idea I was making it up as I was going.
That means you're a good DM.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite story was I had a group that were trying to, and anybody who's played the game before knows that doors are the bane of all players' existence. Locked doors or just doors in general. Spend
Yeah, 'cause
hours
if you
trying to open
roll
a door. Yeah,
anything below like a 10, it's like, well, guess I'm not going through that fucking door.
yeah, yeah. So I had a group of players that was absolutely sure that there was a trap. I had no trap planned. I had no desire for a trap planned, but they were so sure there was a trap there. So I let them talk it out. And as they were talking it out, I was building the trap in my head, using what they were saying against them.
Oh my god.
Oh,
So
no.
yeah,
Like, want a
so
trap? There's a trap now.
exactly. So eventually they got through it. They made it through the trap that never was. And at the end of the session, they were all chatting about how much fun they had and how great it was and stuff like that. And I'm like, "You guys know that there was no trap, right?" And they're like, "What?" Like, there was no trap. That trap didn't exist until you
Yeah.
guys became so sure there was a trap there that I just said, "Okay, they want a trap, I'll give them a trap." And they all loved it. They absolutely loved it. It was so much fun, and it was one of the greatest experiences I've had as a DM, was just pulling it out of my ass and just letting them build the trap for themselves without telling them they were doing that. And they had such a great time. But yeah, no, I always enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, except for when I ran a game technically two games simultaneously for a total of 16 players. That was not fun.
Whoa,
I was
that's too
running
many
two 8-player
people.
games simultaneously, and that was not fun. There was supposed to be a
That's
second DM
crazy.
at a bar that we were playing at. That second person never showed up, and I didn't want to send like half the group home. So I said, "Okay, I can do this, but you're going to have to give me some leeway here." And so I
Yeah,
literally would spend like a bit of time at one table, getting them going, getting them talking, stuff like that. And then I would go to the other table and I would spend some time with them. And I would just bounce back and forth for
you
like
were
3.5.
27 dressing it.
Yeah.
You were Katherine Heigl at the beginning of the movie. I don't know if you've seen 27 Dresses, but
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't, I think I've seen it, but I don't remember.
It's one of my favorite rom-coms, but at the beginning of the movie, she's, like, going to 2 weddings because she's the maid of honor at both, but she has to change her whole outfit, and she's just like it's funny. It's the same
Yeah,
idea, like,
yeah, yeah.
I'm at both
This
events.
Yeah, no, that was the way it was. It was, and they were both two very different groups doing two very different storylines. But I did it once for about 4 hours, and then at the end of that session, I said, "Guys, never doing this again." Like,
Never
I will do a group of 8. Like, 8 is really stretching it for me. I prefer 6 as a max,
Yeah,
but I will
Yeah.
do a group of 8. But I am not doing this again. And everybody was like, "Okay," but they all had fun. They all had a good time. Um, so yeah, it was a great experience, but never again.
Marv and I played D&D our freshman year of college. We had a great DM. Shout out to Bella. And Marv's played more recently than I haven't played since
Yeah.
college. But Marv, we don't have to talk about this on the air. I know you just got dumped by your D&D group, but
Whoa. Dumped by the D&D group? That's a bold way to say I moved out of Denver, Colorado.
they did start another campaign and then didn't add you to the group chat. It felt like they like quietly exited you out.
But I also don't live in Denver anymore.
I know. I want to ask more, David, about not the specifics of like what you do in the day to day, but like, can you define more what it means to be a partner operations release manager? Like, how you got that title, and what you do, I guess, like, because I don't think that's a common title I've seen before.
As far as I know, my group of folks that I work with are the only ones that have that title.
Hmm.
So I started out as oh, what was I? Oh man, I don't even remember my original title.
Was it
It
service
was
delivery coordinator?
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Got your LinkedIn
That,
pulled up.
we do
thank
some
you.
light LinkedIn
Hey,
stalking, so
hey, I'm all for it. You'll see a lot of me retweeting jobs or reposting jobs from Epic and,
yes,
and other
I
folks
saw.
that I know. But so yeah, I was a service delivery coordinator, essentially the same job.
I can tell you what I think it is from like my past job,
Sure.
and you can tell me if I'm wrong. I know that at my previous job, I had a friend who still does this. He helped manage partnerships. So, like, neg- negotiating with clients primarily, being like, hi, we're this company and we want to put your IP in our game. And then navigating that contract and being like, blah, 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 blah. And that's kind of what I thought your job was. And I'm not sure if that's accurate.
It's not in for most of it. So
Okay, great.
our biz dev team are the ones who actually will go out and they'll follow up leads. They'll go out to different developers and publishers and stuff like that and say, hey, we want you to come to the Epic Game Store. Like, what do we need to do to make that happen? Once that contract and agreement and whatever you know gets signed and handled, then I step in or my team steps in.
Mm,
And what we do is we then take the initial relationship establishment is done by BizDev, and then we take that relationship and we run from it there. So
got
we
it.
support them in onboarding into our tools. We support them in troubleshooting. We support them in if they have questions about the tools, about different processes, about different policies. We are the ones that are the primary points of contact for partners. We connect with legal, we connect with the biz dev team, with our
Mm,
technical account managers, with our development teams. Essentially, we are the kind of central like hub of the wheel of the Epic Game Store. So
yeah.
we serve to streamline the process and help as much as we can when people are trying to put their games onto the store. So that goes from, like I said, providing documentation to them, walking them through step by step on how to submit your game, working with them on getting ratings, and various things like that. So it's a very partner focused, a very partner relationship focused role with a little bit of technicality in it. Like
Mm-mm.
mostly it's, we're not a technical role, but we have to understand the technical side of things enough to know who to go to if the partner is having a technical problem, or or various other things like that. So we have to understand enough of the tools and the development process and stuff like that to be able to relay their questions to the relevant folks, and relay their answers back to the partner in a way that helps them get unstuck and move forward with the process. So originally, as Marv said, I was a service delivery coordinator, and then we rebranded the department from service delivery to partner up or sorry, store operations and release management. So we are the Storm team, which is
Hmm,
much cooler than service delivery.
that is a good name.
And then we rebranded from service delivery coordinators to partner operations release managers. Luckily, nobody has messed up that acronym when they've been writing it out so far.
Nice.
But we have joked about it many, many times. If somebody just like messed up and put an N instead of an M. But yeah, no. So mostly it was a rebrand, and then my duties have kind of expanded beyond that. I'm really focused on trying to connect with indies a lot these days and help indie developers get their games onto the store. That's one of my big focuses and areas that I'm really passionate about, is helping indie devs get their games onto our store, working closely with our biz dev team, as well as I'm going to do a very small amount of shilling for the company. We have a Discord server dedicated to indies,
Oh,
that is all
cool.
about us providing services to indies. We are agnostic in, what engine they use or anything like that. Our goal is just to help indie developers succeed. And so, yeah, it's the Epic for Indies Discord. It's a great place, and there's some great people there. And that's the only shilling I'm going to do, I promise. Uh,
Yeah,
but it
support.
is a focus of for me is really, really helping indies, because nobody out there really is. Like,
Mm.
Yeah, it's hard to
yeah,
make your own games. There's a lot of new terms. Marv, does I mean, I know all those terms, but sometimes I forget that
Uh,
not everyone's in the industry. Did any of those words stand out to you? Do we need to define any of them?
um, biz dev, business development.
yes,
Yes.
Okay. Release management. From what I've heard, that's sort of like getting things on the platform in a way that's functional for the end user. Is that
yeah,
accurate?
that's spot on. That's
Okay, cool.
exactly an aspect of it. Yeah, it's making it so that we use the term player, but
Mhm.
end user can get the thing they want to get, the game they want to get. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
A plus.
Thank you.
I was gonna
I've
say,
been paying attention.
it took me quite a while to get all the acronyms and titles and all that stuff down, and still sometimes I'm like, wait a second, what does you do exactly? What is your title again?
Yeah. And I'm glad I'm not the one that had to make the joke about porn. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like that's usually my role in this show. PORM with an M.
yeah,
I got it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. No, trust me. As we were looking at the rebrand and going through different name ideas, and that acronym came up,
So
we all just
close.
started laughing. And like I said, so far, none of it, we have not
No
seen anybody
typos.
make that mistake yet. So, and we've been that for a little over 2 years now. So
Okay.
I'm pretty confident. It's like, so nobody's done it yet.
But
Maybe
when
we'll
it
get away with
comes,
it.
you'll have a pizza party.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I am part of the morale team as well for my department. So
Uh,
pizza parties and things like that are things that I do along with
Well,
my normal duties.
hold on. Do you have is this like an unofficial morale team
No,
or a
no,
real morale team?
real morality. Myself
So
and one of my coworkers work closely together to set up events for our department to do different things. We've done escape rooms, we've done trivia, we've done merch a couple of times. Like, that is legitimately part of my role, is helping out with team morale. And we have every other Friday we have our happy hour, and we'll hang out, we'll chat, we'll play games, we'll they've done times where they've just watched like really cheesy drama movie like shows,
Yeah.
for like an hour and just hung out and just chatted about them. And then, like I said, we did a tea tasting that was a lot of fun.
That sounds
We've done, like I said, we've done escape rooms, we've done trivias. The one we haven't done yet is drag bingo, but I really want to do that
nice. Ooh, that'd be
because
fun.
that just looks like fun. But yeah, so that is an aspect of my
Real.
role is morale. Yep.
You seem like someone who'd do really good at that.
It is something I enjoy quite a lot. It's unfortunately something that I have kind of neglected as in recent months just because of workload and family life. But yeah, no, if it weren't for my cohort, my coworker Jackie,
It's
uh,
good that you do it in pairs. It's
yeah,
nice to share.
she's the one who's got the boundless energy and motivation. I'm just there to support her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to say I've realized I've really worked at really unhealthy places. 'Cause, oh my god. Anyway, I've been the morale team for my teams all the time, but it's never been like official and supported. Anyway, go Mar.
I was gonna say I would love to be the morale team wherever. I love planning a little thing. I love trivia. Oh my gosh. Melissa, your Monster High trivia that stumped everybody was well developed, well done, and I wish you got more recognition for that.
Thank you. For context, David, I put together this trivia for my company based around Monster High because we work a lot on Mattel products. And it was very well researched. I worked on it really hard. And then everyone was like really stumped and not excited about it. And I was just like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was just like, dang.
Yeah.
Um,
It
but
just wasn't the right audience, but you could take all that effort and you could find the right audience, and it would be amazing.
yeah,
The right audience was me. I loved it.
yeah. I then took it and I did it with my friends, and they had a great time.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So it was worth it in the end. It just you didn't have the right audience the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it would be because but I guess asking your coworkers to do trivia about something we work on all the time isn't as fun as I thought it was gonna be. Read the room.
Like I said, it's just about finding the right audience for it.
Yeah, but I do like doing those kind of events. I used to do them all the time, like you said, the happy hours and the game Fridays, and it's hard when everyone's in a different time zone, so, like, finding that sweet spot when, like, it's not too late for some people and not too early for others.
Yep. We're a very distributed team, so I understand that too. Like, yeah, it's but we make it work as best we can.
Yeah, that's fun. Well, it sounds like you have had a wonderful array of jobs from waiter to gas attendant to call center. You've done it all, and now you've been trained perfectly for the job you have now because of it. Do you have any advice for people who would also like to be in the PORM, partner operations release manager role?
Yeah, I mean, the two big things that I will say that has served me well in this role, actually, sorry, three, and really helped a lot is really enjoy working with people because you're going to work with people from like indie, single person indie dev teams to massive, global companies. And you're going to have to be good at working with those people on their levels and doing the things that they do because like the indie dev is going to know all about the development process and stuff like that, but they may not know about the release process or production or marketing or anything like that. But at the same time, you go to a massive company and the person you're working with might be a release manager and all they know about is the release pipeline. They don't know about the development pipeline. They don't know about integrating, things into the build that need to meet, certain requirements, stuff like that. So just be good at working with people is the first thing I'll say. And enjoy working with people. Because if you don't like working with people, you're not going to like my job, and you're not going to like, a lot of jobs, but you've got to enjoy working with people. Number two, be flexible. We wear many, many hats in my job. Like I said, from everything from what would be considered a release manager to a producer to sometimes even up into a technical account manager and stuff like that. So it's be flexible, be able to be flexible. And then the last thing, and this is actually a quote I'm stealing from a college professor of mine: you don't have to know all of the answers. You just have to know how to find them. And that's one of the biggest things that he instilled in me when I was in college. Is it's like, you don't need to know it all, just know how to find the answers you need. And that's a lot of what this job is somebody's going to ask me a question and I don't know the answer to it, but I bet I know somebody who does. And so I just need to find the right person and get the answer from them. And that's what a lot of my job is taking a question from a partner, finding the right person in our company that knows the answer, and then taking that answer back to the partner. Sometimes that's going to require translation depending on the person that you've talked to on each side. So that's, that goes back to the being able to work with people and talk to people aspect. Another thing that professor told me in college that was really helpful, and I didn't realize it until later, was, I don't want you great at one thing. I want you good at many things.
Hmm.
It's like, 'cause if you're great at one thing, I can only use you for that one thing. But if you're good at many things, I can use you for many things. And that's something I think is important, not just in my role, but I think in a lot of roles. And it goes along with the be flexible and stuff like that. It's like, you don't have to be the best at everything or at one thing. Just be good at several things, because then you can make yourself more useful. And I think that's something that is not a lot of people are encouraged, especially younger folks, to do. Like they're like, oh, well, I have to be the best at this. Okay. But that's the only thing you're going to do for the rest of your life. Or be good at that and good at some other things. And then you have far more options going forward.
True. It's good to have kind of be multi-talented because then there's a lot more options.
Yeah. That flexibility comes in handy when, you get thrust into a position in your job that you're like, I don't know how to do any of this, but wait, actually I do. I know how to do some of this. I'm not great at it, but I can find somebody who's better at it, and, build off of that. So yeah,
Yeah.
just be good at many things. Don't be great at one thing.
Yes, jack of all trades, master of none, but better than a
Yeah,
master of one.
exactly.
Uh,
Exactly. Yeah.
Good. All great advice.
Mhm.
I would say that's all applicable, not just to being in the PORM. It applies to being a good producer too. All that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Having talked to friends across the industry, from producers, to executives and everybody in between, or well, everybody from the bottom to the top. Yeah, like being able to be flexible and and knowing how to find the answer, and and being good at several things has really helped myself and other folks that I've talked to and I've shared that information with. And I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't. So uh
Yeah,
but it is something that, like I said, I very much um advocate for that. And be
definitely.
yourself. Always be yourself. If like, as this person that I see on Instagram says all the time, say the weird thing. I don't know who this person is. It's like a clip, and then somebody else says or does something. It's always this same person that says, say the weird thing. That's just something I encourage people to do as well. But that's just the ADHD, neurodivergent goblin in me. You know.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all the wisdom. This is
Yeah,
wonderful.
yes,
I learned so much.
yeah,
happy to share what I have learned anytime.
yeah. Thank you just for joining us and meeting us today and telling your story. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me. Getting the opportunity to talk about the things I've been through, and the things that I'm going through. I'm always down for that. So
Yeah. I know this will resonate with people. People have been very generous, like, in my life to tell me, like, "Oh, that episode, I really resonated with it, and, like, it helped me," and I was like, "Wow, that's so nice." So, I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And also, is that a giant Psyduck wearing a crown behind you?
Yes. It is in fact a giant Psyduck wearing a crown.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I'm
I
trying to
see
figure
it.
it out, but it finally clicked. Whoa, he's so chunky.
It's a
Like
life-size
big.
Psyduck
Wow.
and he's wearing a crown from a well-known fast food company that might have crowns related to them.
Yeah.
Um,
Some company, we don't have to
yeah,
talk about them, but
yeah,
I love the Psyduck. He's
yeah.
very beautiful.
Go.
Well, thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much. We'll let you go. It was so
Yeah.
nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for having me. If you ever need to fill a spot, let me know. I'm happy to come back. I got plenty more stories and other random things to talk about.
Thank you.
Lovely. Yeah. Have a lovely evening, and we'll talk to you soon. I'll stay in
Yeah,
touch.
Yeah.
thank you.
Goodbye,
Thank you.
David.
Have a
Bye-bye.
nice night. That was our conversation with David.
What a wide-spanning career.
Ain't
Like,
it?
all the jobs, doing IT, going into video games, and also just, like, the PORM? Let's talk about that.
I keep thinking chicken parm, like they should call themselves the chicken porm.
Uh-huh. The
But
chicken partner operations release manager.
that'd be funny.
That would also be pretty good. That'd also be pretty good.
Like, obviously, no one should call them porn because it's an SFW, but the chicken porm is like, haha, funny.
Funny, yeah.
Make it put it on t-shirts. Like, we're the chicken porm. I don't know.
That should be one of their bonding nights. Just like,
Yeah. Cook along chicken parm night.
mhm.
That'd be pretty good. These are free ideas, so they could take it, you know?
Yeah, they can take it. Yeah.
They could just use that, run with it.
Yep.
Do send me pics of the t-shirts, though.
That would be fun. That would be fun. Yeah.
It was great. I'm very grateful that he came on the show.
Mhm.
He's very cool. And I learned a lot about a whole side of video games that you kind of don't really think about. It's like, yeah, someone does need to coordinate like all that stuff. I don't, yeah. It's
Yeah.
the behind the scenes stuff. And David's doing the work with his team.
He was doing it with the crown on.
With the crown on in the Zoom call. I used to do that sometimes, like try to make the Zooms more cheerful. Remember the dancing toothless
The
meme?
what?
The dancing toothless meme, where it's like a little derpy toothless, and he's like, "Na, na, 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 na." He's dancing.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yes. I don't remember
I
that
would,
meme. I was thinking like it was like a Zoom filter where you're like dancing, but they take your teeth out. And I was like,
oh my god,
I'm like, that's kind of weird.
no, that's wild. No, the toothless dragon from How to Train Your Dragon, but he was like dancing and derpy.
Okay.
That one.
Nice.
I set that as my Zoom background picture. So every time I was in a Zoom call, he was just dancing behind me.
Interesting. That is pretty fun.
And people were like, Melissa, why do you have this dancing dragon behind you? And I was like, it's Friday. Gotta liven the mood.
Yeah.
I don't know. Try to be cheerful. Be my own team morale person.
Mm-hmm. So true.
Mm, that's how I feel, yeah. I just want to scream. Imagine being supported and like being the official team morale for your team. Anyway,
And like, what if they gave you money to do it?
and like, what if they gave you money to do it? All right, time to close out. Thank you to Les for our cover art, and thank you to Marve for editing the podcast. Great work.
Always.
A+. And remember,
There's
not
one
right
way.
to have a bunch of different odd jobs.
There's not one right way to DM 2 campaigns at once.
On the same night.
On the same night.
There's not one right way to work both at your local family Indian restaurant and your dad's coffee shop.
There's not one right way to decide, hey, I don't think this animation school's for me.
And there's not one right way to pivot from IT to video games.
Sure.
Thanks so much for listening. Bye.